Ne aflăm într-o situație mult mai gravă în ceea ce privește capacitatea noastră financiară de a răspunde, spune profesorul de globalism Ian Goldin de la Universitatea din Oxford. Totodată, acesta vorbește și despre o nouă criză, dar și despre o nouă pandemie care ne așteaptă, într-un interviu acordat colegului meu, Adrian Ursu.
What will be the next crisis, the next shock that will hit us?
It is a tough question. What we know is that there will be more crises, more frequent, bigger amplitude, more ripple around the world. But exactly which crisis is always impossible to predict. That there will be another pandemic, we know there will be another pandemic. There'll be another financial crisis. Where it will come from, we're not sure. Conflict, unfortunately, seems to be on the rise because of rising geopolitical tensions. And then there's all the climate-induced crises that will become more frequent. So we should expect more surprise. That's the nature of the phase of this integration of the world we're in. I'm most concerned at the moment on climate and conflict, but the prospect of another pandemic is looming. And of course, tensions between the US and China particularly make the resolution of these crises impossible. Every crisis requires China and the US to cooperate, to stop it. And as long as those two are not talking and working together, we should expect that crises will not be managed.
But are we well prepared now, comparing, I don't know, 10 years before, for different types of crises and even consecutive or superposed crises?
I think we're in a worse position because there's less international cooperation, there's less will to cooperate. That's one reason we're in a worse situation. So there's a lot of tension in the world. It takes a long time to come together to solve a crisis. The second reason I think we're in a worse position is because COVID was so difficult that most governments' debt levels have risen dramatically. We don't have the financial ammunition that we had before. The world gave $22 trillion, that's about a quarter of global GDP, to trying to respond to the pandemic. But we cannot do that again. So I think we're in a much worse situation in terms of our financial ability to respond. I think also rising tensions within societies. Politics is very fragmented in many countries. It certainly is in the US. It's in many European countries. It is between the West and China at the moment. Will make it more difficult as well because our national governments don't have the cohesion that I think they had 10 years ago even to respond. So I'm very concerned. I think these crises also reinforce each other. We see climate, health, conflict, integrating as well. And of course, we also have new technologies now which we don't really understand. And that compounds the problem because we're not really sure what we should do, like cyber, for example, ransomware and all of these. That requires coordination. It's global. It can be anywhere. It can come from anywhere. But we have fragmented national authorities or European Union authorities. That makes managing it very difficult.
If you're looking to the Horizon 2030. I saw that you are referring on this in your conferences also. Are you optimistic or concerned about what will be happening in the next 7 years?
I'm both. I'm very optimistic that we're in a new renaissance, a new wave of creativity, like the renaissance of 500 years ago. That will lead to big breakthroughs and we're going to learn incredible things and some of them will be extremely positive. Like we need new cures for cancer desperately, urgently. We need new ways of addressing Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and dementia urgently. These are urgent problems. We need to be able to cheapen the cost of batteries, for example, urgently. These are problems that I think we'll be greatly assisted with by this new wave of technology. And by 2030, we should have some really good answers. So I'm very optimistic on many things. But I'm also very concerned. I think what we see is a more divided and fractured world. Within our countries, the splintering of politics, the rise of inequality, the different views that are coming out because of social media and so on, of different ways of understanding the world, our societies, I think, are becoming more fractured. And globally, this is happening as well. And that means we don't solve any problems. We don't solve them domestically, we're in gridlock, and we're also in gridlock globally. That means climate change escalates, the risk of a new pandemic escalates, the risk of a new financial crisis escalates, and that makes me very pessimistic.